Welcome to the Cobcast, where we uncover the truth, ignite your mindset, and explore the realms of health, wealth, and conscious living. Join me in exploring the hidden secrets of the world, unraveling the mysteries of cryptocurrency, and also cultivating a mindset for financial health. I'm your host, Chris O'Brien, reminding you that when in doubt, it's time to zoom out and see the bigger picture. So get ready for an uplifting experience to help you come out better. Welcome back to the Cobcast. This is episode 10, and I'm excited for this one. And it's a really, really big interest of mine, passion of mine. And it is so early and it is so new, and yet it'll be so big. And that's cryptocurrency, digital assets, blockchain technology, the future financial system that we're moving back to, and everything in between. So I'm excited here on episode 10 today. We're going to dive into the basics of cryptocurrency. There's going to be many parts to these episodes. This is going to be our first one. And just a reminder, as always, make sure you guys share this episode, share the podcast, subscribe, like, leave a comment on Apple iTunes podcasts and also on Spotify, and leave a rating and let people know about the good word. The only way I can get this message out, this voice out, is by you guys, not me. So thank you guys for tuning back in. My name is Chris O'Brien, your host. Last episode, we touched on human design, so make sure to check out episode 9. And I'm really excited just to dive in right from the get-go. And before we do, I really want to set the intention that this episode about cryptocurrency is to spark an interest in you. It's to kind of give you a gentle nudge of where the world is headed, is to kind of tap you on the shoulder and remind you that, hey, when in doubt, zoom out. There are some bigger things happening, sometimes that we don't see, sometimes that we don't pick up, because we can be so caught up in the go-go busyness of life. So I want you to leave this episode very empowered, have more awareness to what is actually happening in the world, have more interest of what is actually going to be unfolding over time, how to have more appreciation truly for the time that we be living in. And I know right now it can be tough for some of you that are going through some economic challenges, financial issues, and whatnot. Just hold strong. You're doing the best you can. Make sure you always give yourself that pat on the back, because the future is really bright and we're changing everything across the landscape. I mean, if you think about every industry on planet Earth, from agriculture, educational, energy, government, political, entertainment, food, water, everything across the board is all built by money. It's all funded by capital. It's all built by people and money moving around the world, trillions and trillions of dollars a day. And so much of the systems that we use today, in fact, yes, as we are waking up to, have become corrupt. They become manipulated, they become fraudulent, unlawful, and unconstitutional. And really does come back to what we're going to kind of start diving into first, is how we got in this mess in the first place with this US petro fiat debt-based inflationary piece of paper with a bunch of symbolism on it, like an all-seeing eye, and some things that I choose just not even to repeat. But it's crazy that this keeps us alive, and for many of us keeps food on the table, keeps our doors open in our business, keeps a roof over our head, and we may not even know how it works or how it's actually being used against us to enslave us or to keep us stuck or trapped, or even bigger, what you're seeing happening in the world in instigating wars and disease and lockdowns and control. And it's like, where do we lose compass? Where do we lose our moral compass, and where do we lose our path? So first thing I want to dive into, you guys, is basically going in a little history lesson. We have to go back in time. Now, there are so many events, so many events that we have not been taught. And why? Because obviously you guys know our education system is a Rockefeller-based one, and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds work in cahoots with the Federal Reserve, and it's all interweaved. We talked about it. It's all mixed in with the web of corruption. And so instead of going back thousands of years back, we're just going to go back 100 years back. And we have to realize that two events really shaped where we're at today. And the first one was actually in 1871, which was called the Organic Act. Now, right before this, America was very prosperous. Donald Trump just came out on a podcast with Joe Rogan and other things he's been doing, and talking about this and bringing our past to the future, and talking about what we might have missed or overlooked. And so way back then, we had a prosperous country. We had no income tax. We had tariffs. We had, low housing costs. You could go out and buy a new car for a couple $1,000 and a home for $20,000. We were actually so wealthy at the time that there had to be set up certain committees to manage and tell and teach people how to spend. Can you even imagine today if there were places that you had to go look and make an appointment so someone can teach you how to spend money and how to invest because you had so much of it? Like, really think about that. What kind of world would that look like? What would that do for you? What would that do for us? And so could we be going back to that progression? Could we go back to those times? However, now bringing it going into 2024 and obviously 2025 around the corner. So the Organic Act happened, and this is where things started to get a little crazy and things got a little scary, but no one knew. We weren't even born. Parents probably weren't even born. Your grandparents. It goes back to a lineage that we're not even around anymore today. And so what happened is the U.S. country, America, became the United States of America. They became a corporation, and they were basically sold to the British Royal Crown, which we know is the royal family, who we glitz and glamorize and put on pedestals and whatnot. Yet we're waking up to really what they truly are. And so our country went from a constitutional republic built by the people for the people, built with limited to minimal government obligations in terms of being a servant for the people. And we flipped it. We became a corporation. And then we slowly became a corporation where now you have a birth certificate, and your certificate has a CUSIP number, exchange on the stock exchange, and now your social security number, and now you are liable and you're lost at sea, and you have this, this ID. You have like IDs, that driver's license to identify what's called your straw man, a lot of different things, which again, there's many topics to discuss, but just to stay on track, we became a corporation. Okay, we went from the Constitution to a business, to a corporation that is fraudulent. There are stakeholders and shareholders, a president, which you've been voting for. We haven't had an actual country president since then. Think of every president after that. I think McKinley was the last president before this. All of them were not instilled to be the president of our country, America. They were instilled to be the president of a business, just like Google has a president. Apple has a president. Amazon has a president. You may have a president at your company you own. You have a vice president, senior management, CEO, you name it. So you have to start getting an idea that the world we live in, there's multiple layers. Now, why does this even matter? Because, well, now let's just fast forward. Let's go fast forward now. Into 1913, it's called the Federal Reserve Act was in place. Now, this Federal Reserve Act granted a foreign entity. You heard it, a foreign entity called the Federal Reserve. Apparently, this entity was birthed in an idea on something called Jekyll Island. And there's amazing books and research about that you can really, really dive into to learn more about it. But basically, what happened was we were in trouble. We needed help. And so our government started to now ask for the bank, the central bank, the Federal Reserve, to print money. We needed money to bail out certain loans. And so again, I'm doing my best to summarize and to shorten the amount of time you have to learn all this stuff, because are these things really relevant to us today? Not really. And they're important to know to help you make decisions about today. So it's all interwoven. So stay with me on this. So now the Federal Reserve became the bank of our country, and they were printing money, and the banks needed loans, or the government needed loans. And then so the Federal Reserve would print money, give it to the government, and then with any loan, you have something called what? You have something called interest, just like you would have a credit card. Pay your credit card. If you don't make your payments, you have interest payments. Now, here's the crazy part. Ready? So the government took loans from the Federal Reserve, and they were just starting to print money, called quantitative easing. Got a problem? Print more money. What happened next was, in order to pay back the loan with interest, they didn't have enough. So for every dollar borrowed, or for every dollar made, there was $2 in debt. So you could never actually catch up. You were always getting here, but there was always another layer of debt. So that was the debt cycle. That's why we have a debt-based system, not a credit-based system. Okay, everything is indebted. We're in, I think, $35 trillion in debt right now in this country, but no one bats an eye. So here's the thing, ready? So our government has loans from a Federal Reserve, a private bank that literally has no relation. It's not even based in America. And the interest on it, guess who pays it? We do. Income tax. Doesn't go to our roads or school. That's state tax. There's other taxes for that. Income tax, they're either sending it to another country, or they're using it to pay off the interest because they can never pay back the loan. And it's a perpetual cycle. It is meant for destruction. It is designed to destroy nations. It is designed to create chaos and manipulation and fraud, where the small 1% continue to get wealthy and the 99% suffer. And that's a problem. So now with the Federal Reserve and learning a bit of education on this, and there's many resources out there. You can read books. There's also, there's tons of stuff. We live in an age where, guys, we have our smartphone and ChatGPT. You can say, what is the Federal Reserve? And in a second, you'll learn all about it. We have to know this, because until we know how this actually works, we won't be able to know how we're going to make it better. We're not going to be able to know how the future is going to look or the solutions we are going to have. So over time, things started to continue to happen. We had World War I, we had all these events, and money was borrowed, money was sent, different things like that. And then another big event happened. Again, most important events. We had 1871 Organic Act became a corporation. And then 1913 Federal Reserve Act, which we brought in a Federal Reserve third-party central bank that now controls our country. And presidents like Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, these guys knew that the more dangerous thing is not an army of men with pitchforks and guns and bullets and missiles. It is literally a corrupt third-party private central bank that can control the money supply. That is more of a threat than anything else. So technically, we are in a war of wealth. We are in a war of technology, in a war of control of global population, in a war of information, misinformation. It's not technically the old school ways of, the bombs and you see in World War II and things like that. No, don't get me wrong, those things are happening. Yet on the bigger picture, it's about the transfer of wealth. So after the Federal Reserve Act, now we're going to move into 1971, which was another big pivotal moment, because what happened in those times between the Federal Reserve Act and 1971, well, actually gold was brought in, the Bretton Woods. So there's an agreement that our value of money that we create is going to be backed by gold 1-to-1. And that was the Bretton Woods Act, which you can go research. However, as you know, presidents are instilled and they have control, they have puppets, they take orders, or else there's blackmail, corruption. President Nixon, if you don't remember, this was a huge moment in time, and I think he announced it literally in the middle of after a commercial on a TV show. Go figure, a global announcement, one of the biggest announcements you can make. You did it on a commercial TV show. That's the world we were in. And he announced that we were going to depeg the dollar from gold. We are going to now take any kind of backing, precious metals like gold or silver, and we're going to depeg it. And now we have this dollar left. So what does that do? Well, after that, Henry Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia basically said, hey, we have all this oil. But Henry Kissinger said, hey, in order to use that oil as a method of value and commodities around the world, you have to trade it with the US dollar. And if you don't, we'll bomb you. If you don't, X, Y, and Z will happen. That's how they would threaten you. Either comply with our new dollar, either comply with our Federal Reserve, or you're done. We will literally end your regime. We will completely destroy your country. We will dissolve everything. We will bomb you. We will create man-made disease. It's really sick. So you're seeing how this is a weapon of mass destruction. Not nuclear bombs. Yes, they are completely life-threatening and dangerous, but this is more of a weapon of mass destruction than anything else. So now you have all of a sudden the world reserve currency became the US dollar, and it was backed by blind faith and belief. People will say it's backed by oil, it's backed by the military, it's backed by whatever you want, but really there is no actual thing you can exchange for it. Because if I were to take my dollar in and ask for gold, the banks don't have it. So we went completely off the gold standard. Now, here's why the big problem is, to summarize this. Let's just talk about how money moves. Okay. Obviously, you can print money. It's what they do. They inflate the currency, they print money. It's called quantitative easing. Fractional reserve banking is when you take a deposit. Let's say you deposit $100 into your bank. Well, $100 doesn't go to your bank. They only take 10 and they loan $90 out to other people. Maybe your friend Bob got the loan, and then they charge Bob interest on that loan. So basically, it took your money, loaned it to someone else, and made money off that loan, but it was really your money. So you see, this, it's just all one sick scheme, and we literally do not stop to learn this. So we keep keep chasing paycheck to paycheck. We keep going from one thing to another, barely getting by, and it feels like years go by, and no wonder people can't retire for 40 years. They can't even get ahead after a few years, especially with inflation. If our income didn't go up 20% in the last 4 years, you are getting silently thefted from the US government. And no one cares. No one bats an eye. Good news is people are waking up. So back to sending money. So let's just say there's money in your bank and you want to send it somewhere. Let's say I live here in the US, or I'm in the West Coast, but I want to send it to a friend in Europe or in Germany or anywhere. Just say a friend in Europe. And I want to send them $10,000. Now, typically, we use something called the SWIFT system, which is a messaging system and how you transfer and send money. It does trillions of dollars a day, billions, so many zeros. If I were to send $10,000 over to Europe, how fast would it get there? Instant? No. What if I were to text my friend who's in Europe? How fast would it get there? Probably in a few seconds. What if I were to email my friend in Europe? How fast would it get there? Probably instantly. So, how is it that text message and email and phone calls we can send instantly and it doesn't cost us anything? But then when we send money, it takes days, maybe a week, and it costs us fees, cross border payments. It has to stop at checkpoints. It has to convert to a currency, which can be up or down or manipulated. The next thing you know, they don't even get the full $10,000. Does that even make sense? It doesn't. It's fraud. The fact that you have to go to an ATM and you have to pay to get your money out, why? And so we have this global issue with cross-border payments of how we actually send value. Because, like I said, the amount of wealth, whether it's in commodities, precious metals, stocks, real estate, land, minerals, reserves, bonds, treasuries, whatever it is in the quadquintrillions. Couldn't even put a finger on how many zeros are involved. Yet the way it moves, it's molasses. It is so slow, and the slower you move it, the more corrupt it can become. The slower you move it, the easier people can take their little things and money launder and traffic and do all this corrupt stuff, right? But we don't know this. So now we've got all these issues. We've got inflated currencies. We've got a broken banking system that is bailed out by government who uses loans from a Federal Reserve that we have to pay back in the interest, the people of America, us U.S. citizens, right? Our straw man has to pay for it, but no one complains. No one gets upset. We pay our taxes every year. We don't say anything about that. We send billions to other countries. Meanwhile, our country's falling apart. No one says anything about that. And when I say no one, it's been that way for a long time. And people are saying stuff. I'm saying it. You're hearing it. You're waking up. I'm just giving you the big picture here. So we have a lot of problems. We have problems all across the world, across the border, within our home, within our walls, within our country and other countries. And again, it all has to come back to money. So what do we do? What now? Well, now that's where crypto starts to creep in. That's where something called a distributed ledger technology starts to creep in. That's where you hear something called tokenization starts to creep in. That's where you start to hear things called the blockchain starts to creep in. And while I could go on for hours and hours and hours about all of these terms, all of these things, again, it's not about how much you learn. It's how much you can apply. It's how much you actually retain and how much you actually know. So just a side note, as you're listening on to this, if you were to go to a website and type in comeoutwealthier.com, I actually have a crypto course I made for you that you can purchase. So I just want to remind you too that if things really pique your interest here and you want to look for some other resources and solutions, I've created a comprehensive course with calls and modules, recorded text, you name it, as well as a Telegram chat that's always there for you to ask me direct one-on-one questions. And you can go to comeoutwealthier.com and get started there. It teaches you mindset, how to invest, how to do all the things once you have a solid learning foundational presence for yourself, because you just don't want to go in and just blindly start throwing your money somewhere and hoping it goes up. It's not the true essence of what it means to invest, be a pioneer, or be in the future while the world is catching up. So comeoutwealthier.com, make sure you check that out. So when I was introduced to crypto, it was about 5 years ago. I was told about, obviously we've heard Bitcoin. You guys hear the story. Bitcoin was at $1 and someone sold it for, a couple pizza boxes, 1,000 Bitcoin. And now today, obviously it's over $65,000. Yet there are so many more other components of cryptocurrency beyond Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Ethereum basically is like a proof of work where there's like an algorithm that happens. There's like this mathematical equation that goes back and forth to crack a code. You crack the code, unlock it, and then boom, Bitcoin. So it's more of a transactional store of digital value, so to speak, instead of actually a payment, because you can't actually send Bitcoin that fast and you can't scale to the world because it would use too much energy. And then with Ethereum, the other common blue chip one that most people talk about and have invested in is smart contracts, basically, and different things can be built on it. And it's kind of like a whole ecosystem, right? There's layers to certain things. Yet there's something called Ethereum Gate, which you can look into, and also high gas fees. So while those are the forefront and the main things that help people wake up to these things, there's so many other projects happening. There's so many other tokens, so many other ledgers and cryptocurrencies and blockchains that are going to be all woven together. Not all of them, but for most of them, about maybe 5% will remain after it's all said and done. The rest will be gone, but they will work together into this new ecosystem called the quantum financial system, a system that is fast, efficient, unhackable. You can't manipulate it. It's not fraudulent. It's decentralized. It doesn't cost anything, pennies on the dollar, nothing, frictionless and instant. and some will even say intergalactic. Can you imagine sending a cryptocurrency from here in America or here in the US or Earth to another planet? Can your mind even go there? Like, what if you were traveling the galaxy with some new technology we create, and you've got to buy something on another planet, and you can use a cryptocurrency because it's quantum? That means that there's no time barriers. It is beyond the scope of my comprehension. So I cannot explain it to you. I'll leave that to the professionals and the developers and the creators and all that stuff. But just the bigger vision of what this is going to unlock for people, how it's going to bring third world to first world countries, how it's just going to give people another opportunity of living around the world to actually be a part of the financial system. Did you guys know there are more people with smartphones than bank accounts? For example, in Africa, so many people want to get involved and bring people out of poverty and rise up countries, yet due to the central banks and the Zimbabwe dollar, that a note that has been so depreciated to like $1 is like a trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Can you imagine how off that is, that currency manipulation? But if people there don't have a bank account, they can't make money, they can't send money, they can't receive money, they can't share, they can't trade, they can't purchase and store goods and value. So how are we going to liberate humanity? How are we going to help people rise from those ashes? And that's what crypto can do. It gives people a level playing field. There's a whole new reset that's going to happen in the way we move money, in the way we distribute money, in the way that money is backed by actually a tangible asset like gold and silver. And then using that technology that we are now going to be discussing on how to move the value anywhere, anytime, instantly. So you have blend of both the physical, right? The physical aspect, and then the digital. The digital is the metaphysical. You can't hold it. And that's why it's hard for people. And I get it. Trust me. When I first heard about this stuff, I was like, I don't know. Like holding a dollar, as fake as it is, I get it. But at least I can go buy something with it today. But if I were to send money there and I can't see it, I don't know. But then I realized this. How many of us use a debit card today? How many of us use a credit card? Gift cards? How many of us use Venmo? Cash App, Zelle? How many of us truly still carry around cash? And maybe you do. Nothing wrong with it. I respect it. By all means, I don't personally. I have cash, but I don't carry it around all the time. I use different cards, plastic, and I use digital apps like Venmo. So in a way, if you actually use those tools, you're using crypto. You're using a digital currency. It's just not regulated yet. It's not widely mass adopted yet. It's not widely accepted yet. I can't go show up and, pump my gas at the gas station and say, oh, here, where can I send my XRP? Where's the address? Because people look at you like you're crazy. Now, some places have a Bitcoin. Some places have a Bitcoin ATM. Some places will be able to take that. And that's really cool. So you're seeing where the adoption is happening. But for most of us, we can't. So we have to learn that our past has been predicated off creating fake digital money, which wasn't even digital to begin with. It was printed. But then they also took away the physical aspect that was backing the printed dollar bill. Okay. Now going into the future, a lot of us have hesitancy because of, CBDCs and digital currencies. And I totally get it. There should be some type of uncertainty, maybe even fear or doubt. And that's totally healthy and normal because we just don't know how something works. We don't know how it works, what it does, how it helps us, how it benefits us, the pros and cons, just like anything else that is introduced new. We didn't know what the iPhone was going to do, but yet now everyone has an iPhone. We didn't know what a Keurig was going to do, and now everyone has a Keurig in their home. We don't even know what AI was going to do, and now people are using it for their business. So there's always a progression with growth and evolution and expansion that at the beginning, it can be very rocky. It can be very uncertain, be very unknown. However, we cannot let that deter us from expanding ourselves. We cannot let that fear of uncertainty outshine the potential of complete change in humanity. For a good reason, right? It's always for a good purpose. So the future will be looking as if now we are going back to what's called that like gold standard, where now most of the countries and banks, and the biggest gold holders is the US, by the way. Shout out Trump, who you'll figure that out later. That's another conversation. But we have the most gold in all of these countries, and you're going to hear talk about the BRICS alliance: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They're all accumulating most of the gold around the world. And so why is this important in regards with crypto? Because remember, if I'm sending cryptocurrency, right, instant, fast, in seconds, not through the SWIFT, not outdated where it takes days to get there and it's manipulated and the currency shifts, I could send it today, but in 3 days, some country's currency could drop and now the money that gets there is less. We cannot be impacted by that. We have to speed things up so fast. It's instant. You cannot hack the instant moment. You cannot hack the present moment. So we're taking what's called the gold standard now. We're bringing back gold into the picture. And this is through something called Basel 3 and 4. If you're taking notes, you can research those terms. Basically, according to the Bank of International Settlement located in Switzerland, they have declared that gold is a tier 1 asset now. So in order for you to be a part of the new financial system, in order for you to hold banks or like money on reserves, cash on reserves, you have to make sure that you have the same amount of gold in your vault. And that's fantastic. So whatever country you're in or wherever you're at, whatever bank you work with, in order for them to be compliant for the future system going forward, if you were to go take your money in, your cash, and take it to the bank, you could potentially get gold back or silver coins and so forth. When will that happen? It's slowly progressing. It's taking time to set up a whole new world and a whole new system. Yet you could start seeing the bigger picture of why gold is making its truly return. And you're seeing it happen. It's steadily growing every single month. Same with silver. A year ago, it was like $20 an ounce. Now it's up to $35 an ounce. And it's highly, highly manipulated, highly suppressed, shorting silver and the silver squeeze paper shares of silver. And so precious metals have not only been suppressed, they've also been manipulated, taken off the gold standard, where silver is now also used for so many things. So now we have the physical growth that is ready to go backing the system. And now we're going to have a technological growth. And that's where the blockchain comes in. And that's where the ledger technology comes in and tokenization comes in. So we're basically taking a big thing and we're making it a bunch of small little things. Why? So that big thing isn't owned by a wealthy 1% cabal. Now the little things are dispersed evenly through humanity. And that's what's really, really cool. So again, let's now give a real world example of, let's say, like XRP, one of my favorite cryptocurrencies. You guys can see I'm even wearing my shirt. I got the Phoenix, the XRPL merchandise, a token coin by Ripple Labs. So Ripple is the company that's, you guys will see, will be the next Amazon and Apple. And they're partnered with basically every bank and government and country in the world. And it'll be the backbone of the new financial system. Now, what's really incredible about this is that their crypto XRP is amazing because it can actually move value instantly. It's a token of, they call it the internet of value. Okay, it's internet of value. So you can move instantly trillions and trillions of dollars in cross-border payments. So now that's going to take away a lot of the friction that we've been having when we're buying or sending or transferring money. And now we're going to actually save so much more on fees. So that's really amazing. Now, with this new infrastructure, okay, with this new system called the QFS, Quantum Financial System, you also have to look at a couple variables within it so you understand how it works. One thing to note is there is something called the ISO 20022 Compliance Board, and that's basically a communication standard. Okay, it's how we actually communicate. So if I'm sending money or moving money locally, domestically, internationally, and I were to say, hey, I am, I'm sending money here, I'm speaking English. What if I was speaking to another country who spoke a different language and then they heard a different message? So the ISO protocol allows us to get on the same page when it comes to cross-border messaging and communication and transactions, which is now going to make everything a lot easier to grow and sustain and give people pretty much a level playing field, a chance at life, bringing wealth back to humanity, decentralized from these central banks that have found a way to print money and inflate it, because most of these cryptocurrencies are already pre-mined. They're already pre-mined, like Bitcoin. There's only 21 million of them. You can't make more of them. It's a set infinite supply, finite supply. And that means it's deflationary, it's inflation proof, which is very, very good. Banks don't like it, but we the people do, right? So you have these ISO certified cryptos potentially like XRP, XLM, XDC. Those are the three top ones. And they have different purposes, right? XRP is more cross-border payments and in the trillions, quadrillions, the derivatives moving instantly. XLM will be more of a peer-to-peer. It's called stellar lumens. So it's like, let's say your people are in Africa trying to buy and trade or send money to local stores or farmers markets or whatever is going on right from their phone, because they have smartphones, they can actually send XLM as a means of payment and it will convert into their currency. And then XDC is a decentralized third party. Decentralized, call it DeFi, decentralized finance. So you have smart contracts, you have all sorts of different protocols. Again, more complex, more deep, right? More complex, more deep. But for the main idea of where we're going, those three cryptos will definitely be in the backbone and the big, big method of how things move in the world. So that's kind of a breakdown of where we're at. So remember, we have to look at our current financial system is currently collapsing and is in free fall with global banks around the world. You're seeing it happen left and right. And it's being exposed for manipulation and fraud. It's being shaken up within its own infrastructure. And these BRICS nations, right, that are coming together, and they just had their convention recently in Russia. These BRICS nations are forming an alliance, going back to the gold standard, backing their value by gold, backing their foreign currencies by gold. And they're also hinting at a new ledger system, a new global payment system. And if you start hearing these clues and you start hearing these little tips and tricks, you're starting to get an idea of where the world is headed. So it's really, really, really exciting. So as of right now, you may be listening to this, and let's say you haven't even started, right? Let's say, well, this makes sense. I get it. I still want to do more research. There's tons out there. There's tons out there. And if you follow my Instagram page, follow my Come Out Wealthier Instagram channel. I also have Come Out Wealthier Instagram page as well. I have my X app, Come Out Better, and I also have my Telegram. I have so many places where I have been sharing for years all sorts of nuggets, whether it's workshops, whether it's little courses you can get for free, whether it's my crypto course. So my advice for you first is to just learn something first. You've probably learned a lot here in the last 30 minutes. Learn the basics, learn the foundation, learn some simple terms, learn a little bit about our history, learn how money has been working for decades and why it's not sustainable. Learn a little bit about the tools and technology that is being ushered in and is being adopted right now, right before your eyes. It's happening all over the world. You're not just going to see it on mainstream media. And then come back to yourself and ask yourself, do I want to get ahead? Do I want to be first or do I want to be last? Do I want to wait till everyone adopts it for me to join because I'll feel better? Or I'm going to step into the unknown, do my research, ask the questions, make an action plan, make a game plan, strategize, and take my first step forward. And if that is you, congratulations. Because as of right now, about 5% of the population, 5% of the population is actually invested in a cryptocurrency. Can you imagine? 5%? It's like just 5% of the world has an iPhone and 95% have a flip phone. And what if I were to say that now you could be ahead of it, get involved with Apple before everyone gets an iPhone, and you could possibly have a piece of the greatest transfer of wealth of all time? So there probably have many questions that will come up. This again was an introductory episode just to give you a brief timeline of our history, how money has worked, how money is going to change. Put it simply, it's going to be faster, more efficient, safer, decentralized, not by a central bank, by a decentral party with nodes and different terms. Again, I want you to learn. It is going to be cheaper to send money all over the world. People are going to have a level playing field. We're going to go back to a gold standard. We're going to get away from this corrupt money printing inflationary tool that has destroyed our nations and our world for so long. And we're going to be using technology that is quantum, technology that we can move around the world, technology we can use right from our phones or our laptops that will be as efficient and as effective as a text or an email, technology that we can use potentially intergalactic. It's going to be deflationary. It's going to be tangible. It's going to be able to be instant, where we can now move the value of the world within seconds. And it's a beautiful future, you guys. It's so bright. And if you told me all this years ago, I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't get it. But then as I started to connect a dot, connect another dot, learn about this, learn about that, see where the world's been, see where the world is going, it started to get more and more clear and clear and clear. And now it's truly out in the open that, oh my gosh, we're on the verge of a huge change. And as Donald Trump comes back, whether you like it or not, he is going to now ushering in a new era when it comes to cross-border payments. He's going to be ushering a crypto era. He's going to be ushering a sovereign era, in an era that is going back to we the people, the republic, the constitutional republic, away from the Organic Act. No more USA Incorporated, which were slaves to the Jekyll Island monster from Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve. In fact, it's crazy enough to think that Donald Trump in March 2020, when we had the lockdowns, when it all started, he passed the CARES Act, which dissolved the Federal Reserve into the U.S. Treasury. Can you imagine? We didn't even know. Like, Donald Trump is the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So much of the stuff you see about our current financial system is meant to collapse the dollar. It's meant to completely get rid of this corrupted weapon of mass destruction, where now, once that collapses, we can rise from the ashes. We can go back to sound money with gold and silver backing it. We can now use technology that has been here for decades, just been hidden and kept, so much to a point that you have the SEC holding a lawsuit, holding back the entire crypto industry for almost 5 years. The SEC has done to reduce innovation. Why? Because it's a three-letter government agency, and they do not like when new things happen that threatens their power and control. And so as that passes and Trump returns and we go back to the gold and silver and the nations align to form the global alliance to eliminate the deep state, we are going to have a new currency system, a new financial system that is instant, frictionless, fast, safe, secure, decentralized, and meant for we the people. Guys, the best is truly yet to come. I'm really excited. Again, check out comeoutwealthier.com to get your toes wet a little bit more. There's tons of amazing resources out there on my page and my feed. Give a like, leave a comment, share this podcast just to get people's mind open into the crypto world, because we're definitely going to be talking more as things unfold over the next coming months and years. And it's a bright future, guys. I'm so excited. I'm so optimistic. And as always, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research. You got to learn and you got to connect your own dots. I'm just here to leave you the crumbs and clues. So I pray this gave you some value. Share this. I will see you guys on episode 11. The best is yet to come, and we are coming out better for a better outcome. Have an amazing day.